Hello, this is Mantra from Video Gamers, and this is a short video of my playthrough of the Ornstein Smough fight. In this encounter, we're going to be going for the Super Ornstein Phase 2, which means we need to kill Smough first. The reason you want to do this is because whichever of the two that you kill second gives you their soul, so you can make their weapon, as you can see in this encounter, like the neat hammer or the even neater spear, and also allows you to purchase their armor later from a specific vendor. So we wanted to get Ornstein's armor because, admittedly it's far cooler and so on, and we have no use for a hammer with this character because we have far from the strength necessary to wield it. Ornstein's spear, on the other hand, only requires 24 dex and 24 strength, so it's fairly easy to match those requirements. And it also has the neat function of firing lightning bolts when you use the special strong attack move. At any rate, the most important thing of the Ornstein and Smough first phase is that you want to keep Ornstein in your sights at all times, if possible, and you also want to make clever use of the pillars, because both of their attacks can not go too far through the pillars, and with Smough that's very helpful because you can block Smough away from Ornstein using the pillars. Smough is also incredibly huge, as you can see, and you can use him to block Ornstein because you're going to be targeting Smough if you want to fight Ornstein in Phase 2. Because whichever boss is left alive regenerates all of their health in Phase 2, there's no real need to harm them in Phase 1. I mean, although sometimes it'll happen by accident, of course, because they both keep getting in the way. Now, you can see here that Ornstein will repeatedly attack you through Smough's body, which can be quite a pain because Smough will block your ability to see Ornstein often. But, you just kind of have to deal with that and hope that you're going to be hitting Smough from a distance, as you can see with the halberd, for example, that Ornstein cannot hit you through Smough's body. Ornstein also has this nifty and incredibly painful flying attack he'll do when only when he's far away from you. There are a couple versions of the attack. One of them is one where he will keep flying until he tries to hit you, and he won't stop, and sometimes he'll hit pillars and things like that and seemingly stop and stand still for a moment, but in reality the animation is just going to repeat itself very soon, or continue onwards rather, and so you have to keep an eye out for that, because sometimes it'll look like he's finished his flight when in reality he's very far from it. Now, as you can see, I've just killed Smough. It's fairly simple now that I've sort of got the technique for the first phase down. And this is where the hard part starts, because Ornstein will become much larger, which is very much a pain with his, small, fast guy moveset, and all of his attacks will do more damage. Also, he'll have a greatly increased enhanced range with his spear, which is very terrible in this kind of encounter. One thing I did note is it doesn't seem like he does the super terrible flying attack anymore in this stage, so you don't have to worry about him flying from across the screen. It's just that he has such a massive range in this form that he can almost accomplish the equivalent anyway. So here I am using the pillars again to my advantage, because Ornstein has a habit, especially in Phase 2 now, of just throwing lightning bolts at you for pretty much forever. So as you can see, I get as much time as I want to heal here with my miracles. That's another thing that's very neat, very useful in all long boss fights, is having the ability to use the miracle heals, and I believe it only requires about 12 or 13 faith. So that's a good thing for anyone to pick up, no matter who they are. Very few stat points invested for that gain. So the most important thing to do with Ornstein is to stay at his feet. There's only one attack really he can hit you with, the one you're seeing right now, if you're at his feet, and that's admittedly a very deadly attack, one that's somewhat softened by the massive amounts of vitality I have in this character, but it's, still you don't want to get hit with it, because then he can easily follow it up with, say, a butt slam like that, or whatever the heck you want to call that, and that can finish you off. Now, a lot of Ornstein's attacks, they're big arcs that he swings in, so you have to be very careful about where you are standing, because you have to be immediately underneath him to avoid a lot of them. As you can see there, I got hit with the slam attack because I flipped backwards, but I got stuck on the pillar, so you have to watch out for that. That'll probably happen at least a couple more times throughout this fight, because it's pretty much impossible to always position yourself perfectly unless you have the patience to just hang out in the center of the room and dodge his attacks. Whenever you're at a distance from Ornstein, you're in far more danger than you are when you're right next to him. Now, what you see here is that when you go to the right outside of his legs, because he's already in a stance, so it's hard to get in between them, then he can hit you with his attacks. When you're right in between his legs, it's almost impossible for him to hit you with any attack except for the lightning spear grab. So as you see there, I avoid the attack by running in, and then he goes for the grab attack. It has a very short range comparative to the rest of his moves, but, of course, it's very deadly, and it can be hard to avoid. The most important thing to do whenever he tries to grab you with the spear is just to leap backwards. It has a long animation build up, but, you'll still probably get caught with it a few times. As long as you don't get hit by many of his other attacks, however, this isn't fatal. The slam attack is a very easy time to run in and hit him. You want to back up to whatever feels a safe range, and then rush in, usually two-handing with whatever your weapon of choice is, and smash him right as he gets up from it. He has a short recovery time before he starts doing anything else. When you're in between his legs, you're going to want to just keep stabbing him in the legs and avoiding attacks that will smash you. I'm not, exactly certain on all of his attacks and when they can hit you and whatnot, and some of his attacks will home, for example, and so they can be a great pain. And there you see I leapt to the side, and that's not enough. So reacting improperly will get you impaled and blown up. Although sometimes you can make it out of distance anyway, even if you do leap to one side or the other. Just usually the best idea is to leap backwards. Sometimes it's not possible. That's why I maneuvered, for example, around him before leaping back, because leaping to the right or left wouldn't have done anything there. So this lift you off move is very dangerous to anybody without a massive amount of endurance. I wouldn't recommend running into it like I did there. That just sort of happened. You'll get a feel for what his moves are as you fight him. You'll start to understand what certain, as he builds up to a swing, what that means. And as you can see, I'm dodging most of the lightning spear grab attacks, although I'll probably still get with a couple more. So at any rate, the key thing is just hanging out at his legs, because at any range, he's incredibly dangerous. Also, you want to try and keep target on him at all times, but sometimes the game's targeting system doesn't let you do that. So you can see basically a safe range for that slam attack, from what I was doing right there. And as long as you stay at that safe range, it isn't going to do anything to you, and then you can just rush in and smash him freely right after the attack. This is not a good position to be in when they're doing the slam, because then you can't see anything, you can't back off properly and whatnot, so don't want to get caught there. And you don't want to do this either. That was a bad move because I didn't use the pillar to help block. The flipping that I'm doing, you'll notice in the video that's very helpful in this, because flips are pretty much the best way of avoiding damage, is granted to me by a special ring you pick up by joining and then betraying the Forest Covenant. We'll have another video for that very soon, if not already, but it makes almost all boss encounters far more easy on the player, because then you don't have to be nearly as careful about how much you roll or dodge or whatnot. And you can see there I actually thought that was going to be a lightning spear grab, but in fact it turned out to just be him shooting lightning, so, it's usually a good idea to put up your shield, which I did not do because I wanted to regain endurance there no matter what, because if I had my shield up, I would have blocked that and not gotten mauled. And you see I fell for his, spear and lift you up thing there, and then barely managed to flip through that additional shot he threw afterwards. He loves doing that, by the way, comboing you with the lightning bolts right after hitting you, so make sure to watch out for that and try and keep yourself topped off at all times possible. If you think he might be able to hit you, like say you're at a distance, you're trying to recover your endurance by not blocking, then he probably can. So it's the best idea to just instinctively react with your shield no matter what, because you can at least block some of the damage if he is going to hit you, and it's far better than getting hit unprotected. There I got a little bit too greedy, went two-handed, and so almost got murdered. So, Ornstein is not incredibly hard, and I'm actually taking a lot of risks here that I wouldn't advise you taking, because I have, more knowledge of the fight, and I'm fairly confident in my ability to lock it down and not get hurt very much if I do happen to run out of healing. And also, as he gets to lower HP, you can obviously take more risks if you're comfortable with that, but I would only advise it if you have a lot of vitality and endurance like this character has. So, Ornstein's dead, and we get his soul, that, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you can use to make his spear at a later date. That spear, again, requires 24 strength, 24 dexterity, and allows you to shoot lightning bolts so you can be just as cool as Ornstein. Also, the merchant to buy his armor will be under that bridge off to the right side of Firelink Shrine, the one that leads you up into the Undead Burg. You'll have to leap to get to the bottom area, and so you want to be careful with that, and it'll require a little bit over 25,000, 28,000 souls to purchase, so make sure to bring enough. Although you can always go check out the prices first and then bring enough, just to be careful. Here, you go up the elevator, and we completed a special side quest involving Knight Lautrec that we're going to show you in just a moment after I light this bonfire. And it's fairly complex. We'll probably have a video on that too, actually, but you can basically run over there after you've beaten this encounter, after you've done everything else relating to the side quest, and you can grab his armor. So we're going to do that in just a second here. Yeah, there we go. And you can see the glowing thing off in the corner there. You run over there, all of his armor will be there waiting for you. Yeah, the armor isn't incredibly great, as you'll see here. I'm going to check it out and compare it to the Nazgul stuff I'm wearing right now. But, it's neat to have anyway. It's minor improvement in some areas, some of the pieces at any rate, but, it doesn't look that great. It has some weird arm things on your chest and stuff like that, so, I didn't really wear it very long. So yeah, I guess that's about it. You've just seen the whole Ornstein Smough encounter going to Ornstein Phase 2. We'll probably add up a video of doing Smough in Phase 2, but to be quite honest, that's fairly simple in comparison to Ornstein. The Ornstein encounter is the one that people seem to have the most trouble with, which is why I wanted to do a video on that one first. So yeah, there you can see the weird arm thingies and some other stuff, and you know, it looks all old and rusted and whatnot. So yeah, I pretty much switched out of there right away. Yeah. So for information on all the gear I'm wearing and the healing, you know, the Estus Flask +3, you can see at the bottom of the screen, for example, enhancing your healing things, stuff like that. And generally the statistics of this character, we'll have videos and information on all of that so that you can understand exactly where we were and how we were doing what we were doing, how we were withstanding certain attacks and whatnot if you were having a problem with that. So, yeah, I guess that's about it. Yeah, and if you want to ask us any specific questions, just post in the comments. And here is the princess, the head of the Princess Guard Covenant. And, you know, you can join her covenant. She also, whether or not you join her covenant, gives you something called the Lord Vessel that allows you to warp between bonfires, which is incredibly useful. See, now you can do that. And that's about it. I think this is coming to the end of the video, and there's not much else to talk about. So there you go. Have fun, and I hope you enjoy defeating Ornstein yourself so you can get that neat armor.